The cargo ship Star Runner drifted through the silent blackness of space. Its pilot, Tom, sat in the small cockpit, scanning the endless stars ahead. He was on a routine trip to deliver food and tools to a mining station near the edge of human-controlled space. The journey had been quiet so far, almost too quiet. Tom preferred quiet jobs. They paid less, but they kept him alive. He was checking his navigation screen when a faint beep broke the silence. The screen showed a small blinking light far to the left of his course. The ship's computer announced a weak distress signal. It was coming from somewhere near the asteroid belt. Tom frowned. Out here. Any signal like that usually meant trouble. Pirates often use fake distress calls to lure in ships. Still, something about the signal felt different. It was faint and old, like it had been drifting for hours without reply. He hesitated. The safe thing to do was ignore it and continue to the mining station. But as he stared at the blinking light, he thought of the old saying his father used. To tell him, if you see someone lost in the dark, you shine a light. Tom sighed, tapped the controls, and adjusted his course toward the signal. The journey took nearly an hour. As he approached the location, the outline of a broken ship appeared against the backdrop of stars. Its hull was cracked, and one of its engines hung loose, sparking now and then. It was not a human ship. The design was smooth and curved, unlike the blocky style of human freighters. Strange glowing symbols ran along the side. Though many were dim, Tom slowed his ship and scanned for life signs. At first there was nothing. Then the computer picked up one faint heartbeat dot. Tom put on his suit, grabbed a flashlight, and crossed to the wreck through the docking tube. Inside, the air was thin, and the lights flickered weakly. The corridors were narrow, the walls covered with strange patterns. It smelled faintly of metal and something sweet, almost like flowers. He followed the sound of the heartbeat through the scanner until he reached what looked like a small cabin. The door was jammed halfway open. Tom pushed it with his shoulder until it gave way. Inside, lying on the floor, was a figure unlike anything Tom had seen in person. The being was tall and thin, with silver-colored skin that caught the dim light like polished stone. Her hair was pale, almost white, and her eyes, when they slowly opened, glowed faintly blue. She wore a suit torn at the side, and her breathing was weak. Tom knelt beside her and checked her pulse through the scanner. It was slow but steady. He spoke, unsure if she would understand. "I am here to help. Can you move?" Her lips moved, and he heard a soft voice. The words were not human at first, but then, slowly, they shifted into his language. "Help me. My ship to my clan, gone." He gave her water from his suit pack, and she drank carefully. "My name is Tom," he said. "We need to get you to my ship." She tried to stand but staggered. So he supported her weight and guided her back. Through the corridor, the glowing symbols on the wall seemed to brighten slightly as they passed, as if watching them leave. When they reached the Star Runner, Tom sealed the hatch and restored full air pressure. The alien sat on the edge of a bunk, still breathing. "Hard name?" he asked gently. She looked at him, her glowing eyes steady now. "Lyra," she said. "I am last of my clan. Raiders came. My people, some still alive, trapped. Others gone. My ship was last to escape. Raiders followed. They fired until my engines broke." Tom listened quietly. The sadness in her voice was clear even without knowing her whole story. "Where are the survivors?" he asked. She closed her eyes and spoke slowly, as if forming each human word carefully. "Moon, cold, little food, hiding. Raiders search. If no help comes, they will die." Tom rubbed the back of his neck. He was no fighter. His ship was built for carrying goods, not for battles with raiders. Still, he knew leaving her people to die would be something he could never forget. "You want me to go there?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes, I have star map. I know way. If you help, my people will honor you. We will not forget." For a long moment, the only sound was the hum of the Star Runner's engines. Tom thought about the mining station waiting for its supplies. They could survive a little longer without them. He thought about the raiders and how dangerous they were. Then he thought about Lyra's glowing eyes, filled with a mix of fear and determination. He decided. "All right," he said. "Show me the way." Lyra reached into a small pouch on her belt and pulled out a thin, crystal-like disc. When she touched it, a map of stars appeared in the air between them. She pointed to a small blue moon on the edge of a dark sector. "Here. This is where my clan hides. Raiders patrol here, here, and here." Her finger traced dangerous red zones. "We must go round. It will take longer, but we can arrive unseen." Tom adjusted his ship's course and engaged the engines. As they moved through the dark of space, Lyra sat quietly in the co-pilot's seat. Every so often, she would look out at the stars as if searching for familiar shapes. Tom noticed she carried herself with a calm strength despite the loss she had suffered. She was not just a survivor. She was someone who still believed her people could be saved. As the stars drifted by, Tom wondered what he had just gotten himself into. This was no longer a simple cargo run. He was now part of something much larger, a fight to save the last of a dying people. And though he did not know it yet, his choice to answer a faint, almost forgotten distress call would change the course of his life forever. The Star Runner moved through deep space, following the safe but longer route Lyra had shown. The stars outside the window drifted slowly, and the only sound was the low hum of the engines. Tom kept his hands on the controls, while Lyra sat beside him, her crystal map resting on her lap. Her breathing was steadier now, but Tom could see the weight of worry on her face. Her glowing eyes often moved to the window, as if she feared raiders would appear at any moment. "Tell me about your people," Tom said after a while. He wanted to understand what he was risking his life for. Lyra sat up straight, folding her hands in front of her. "We are called the Orlin. We came from a warm, green world far away. We travel among the stars to share knowledge and trade. We do not fight unless we must. We believe in building, not destroying." Her voice softened. "That is why the raiders came. They saw we had mines full of crystals. These crystals power ships, heal wounds, and make weapons stronger. We never made weapons, but they did." Tom listened carefully. He could tell she spoke with pride about her people, but also with deep sadness about what had happened. "How many are left?" he asked. Lyra looked down. "Not many, less than 50. Most are old or young. Only a few can still work or fight. We hide on the moon because it is caves. But the caves are cold and our food is almost gone. We cannot grow plants there. The raiders know this. They wait for us to come out." Tom's hands tightened on the controls. "And no one else came to help?" She shook her head. "Other worlds fear the raiders. There are many. They destroy any ship that gets close. No one will risk their own people for strangers." Tom understood that fear. Even he felt it now. Raiders were not just thieves. They were killers who ruled through terror. Going near them was dangerous. Still, he knew he could not turn back now. "You said you have a plan," Tom said. "Tell me how we can help without getting caught." Lyra leaned forward and activated her crystal map. The stars shifted, and red lines marked patrol paths. They travel in circles round the moon. But there is a shadow side the patrols do not watch closely. If we come in from here, she pointed to a dark gap between two red lines, we can land in the caves without being seen. Tom studied the map. "And once we get there, I will speak to the elders," Lyra said. "They will know what to do. If we can get them food and maybe move them to a safer place, we can survive until the raiders give up. But we must hurry. Every day, more grow weak." Tom nodded. "We have food in the cargo hold, but not enough for 50 people for long. I can give them the supplies and see if we can make more trips." Lyra's expression softened. "You are a good man, Tom. My people will honor you. In our way, we remember those who help us for generations." He felt a little awkward at her words. "Let's just get them safe first." Hours passed as they traveled. Tom took short breaks, letting the autopilot guide them, while Lyra rested in the small bunk. Even when she slept, her hands sometimes clenched, as if she dreamed of danger. When she woke, Tom offered her some human food, a packet of dried fruit and bread. She examined it curiously before taking a small bite. Different taste. She said, But good, Tom smiled faintly. Better than starving. She nodded, serious again. I wish my people could see this. Humans sharing food with Orlin. It would give them hope. Later, as they approached the edge of the moon's system, the ship's sensors picked up faint signals. Tom quickly dimmed the lights and slowed the engines. Patrols, he said quietly. Lyra moved closer to the window, her eyes scanning the darkness. They are close. We must move slowly here. Tom guided the ship through an asteroid field. Using the rocks as cover, the ship's hull shook lightly when small stones hit the sides. But the asteroids kept them hidden. They passed dangerously near one of the patrol ships. Tom's heart pounded. He kept his hands steady, forcing himself not to speed up. Any sudden movement would draw attention. Lyra's gaze was fixed on the patrol until it drifted out of sight. When they finally cleared the asteroid field, Tom let out a slow breath. That was close. Lyra nodded. You fly well. You would have made a fine Orlin pilot. Thanks, Tom replied. Now let's finish this trip before something else finds us. As they entered the shadow side of the moon, the surface below came into view. It was dark, rocky, and silent. Deep cracks and craters stretched for miles. Lyra pointed toward a cluster of large boulders near the base of a ridge. There, she said. That is the mouth of the caves. Tom angled the ship down, keeping his speed low to avoid stirring up dust that might be seen from above. The landing was smooth, the ship settling quietly between the boulders. Lyra stood and moved toward the cargo hold. We should bring some food first. It will show them you are a friend. Tom grabbed the heavy crates and followed her down the ramp. The air was cold, and the sky above was pitch black except for a few distant stars. Lyra led him toward a narrow crack in the rock dot inside. The cave opened into a large space lit by small glowing stones fixed to the walls. Dozens of figures stood in the shadows, watching silently. Their silver skin and pale hair marked them as Orlin. When Lyra stepped forward, the quiet broke into soft murmurs. Some ran toward her, touching her hands and face with relief. An older Orlin stepped forward. His posture bent but his eyes bright. Lyra, he said in their own language, before switching to halting human speech. We feared you were gone. I am here, she said, placing a hand on his arm. And I bring a friend. This is Tom. He came to help. All eyes turned to Tom. The silence was heavy for a moment. Then the elder gave a slow nod. If you help us live, you will be welcome in our hearts. Tom set down the crates. Let's start with food. Then we'll talk about what comes next. Lyra looked at him with quiet gratitude. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, she could see the faint light of hope in the dark. The Orlin survivors gathered around the crates Tom had brought. Their thin hands reached carefully into the boxes, pulling out packages of bread, dried fruit, and sealed water. They handled each item as though it were precious treasure. Some of the children looked at Tom with wide, curious eyes, whispering to each other in their language. Tom stood quietly to the side, watching them eat. He could see the signs of hunger in their faces and the weakness in their movements. Lyra stayed close to him, speaking softly to the elders in her language. She told them about the patrols and how Tom had guided the Star Runner through the asteroid field. Without being seen, the elder, the one who had greeted them, stepped forward again. His name was Ren. You are brave, Tom, Ren said in careful, human speech. But you should leave before the raiders find you. They will come again. Tom looked at the tired faces around him. If I leave now, you will run out of food in a few days. You need more than just supplies. You need a way out of here. Ren's eyes darkened. There's no way out. The raiders watch the skies. If we try to flee, they will follow and destroy. U.S. Lyra placed a hand on the elder's arm. Ren, we cannot give up. Tom came this far. He can help us escape. Ren shook his head slowly. It is too dangerous. He is only one man with one ship. We are too many for him to carry. Tom took a breath. Then we make more than one trip. I can take a few of you at a time, move you to a safe station, and come back for the rest. The elder studied him for a long moment. And if the raiders catch you during one of those trips, then I'll deal with it, Tom said firmly, A soft murmur spread through the Orlan crowd. They were not used to hearing such words from outsiders. Most people avoided them or fled at the first sign of trouble. Lyra's voice grew stronger. Ren, if we stay, we will die. If we try, maybe we will live. Tom is willing to take the risk. So should we? Ren looked at her for a long time, then sighed. I will not stop you, but you will need a plan. Without one, the raiders will crush us before we leave the caves. Tom nodded. Then let's make a plan. They moved deeper into the cave, where a large flat rock served as a table. Lyra spread her crystal map on it, the glowing image of the moon and surrounding space filling the air. Red marks showed the patrol routes. Ren pointed to the main raider base, a small station in orbit above the moon. That is their watchtower, Ren explained. They launch patrols from there and keep their strongest weapons on that station. Tom leaned closer. If we can distract them, maybe the patrols will leave the shadow side unguarded long enough for us to get away. Ren frowned. How? Will you distract them without being destroyed? Tom's mind began to work. I have a few old cargo drones on my ship. They're not fast, but I can load one with scrap metal and heat packs to look like a larger ship on sensors. I send it away from the moon, and they'll chase it, thinking it's me. Lyra's eyes lit up. Yes. While they chase the drone, we move. Ren still looked doubtful. Even if that works, you will only have a short time before they return. Then, we make every second count, Tom said. First trip, I take the children and anyone too weak to fight. Second trip, I come back for the rest. If we get them all to a safe station, we can warn others about the raiders. Lyra placed her hand on the glowing map. We must try. Ren finally nodded. We will follow your lead, Tom. May the stars guide us. That night, or what passed for night on the moon, the caves grew quiet. Most of the Orlan lay down to rest, their bodies curled close together for warmth. Tom sat near the entrance, checking his ship's systems on a handheld screen. Lyra came to sit beside him. You do not have to do this, she said quietly. You could fly away and no one would blame you. Tom glanced at her. Maybe. But then I'd spend the rest of my life wondering if I could have made a difference. I don't want to live like that. She studied him for a moment, then gave a small nod. In my people's way, we have a saying. The one who lights the path is part of the journey. You are now part of our journey, Tom. He gave a faint smile. Let's just hope the journey ends well. The next morning, they began preparing. Tom returned to the Star Runner with a few Orlan helpers. They loaded the first set of supplies for the trip back, along with the small cargo drone he had mentioned. The Orlan watched closely as he programmed the drone to broadcast a fake ship signature. This will make them think they've found me, Tom explained, the moment they moved toward it. We launch. Lyra inspected the drone, her silver fingers brushing the smooth metal. Will it be fast enough to make them chase? Tom said. That's all we need. By the time the plan was ready, the Orlan in the caves had gathered in silence. Their faces tense. They all knew the risk. If even one patrol spotted them too soon, the plan would fail. Ren stepped forward. We will move as you say, Tom. But if you do not return after the first trip, we will know you gave all you could. Tom shook his head. I'm coming back. Count on it. As he walked toward the ship, Lyra fell in step beside him. No matter what happens, she said, you have given us more hope than we had in many moons. Tom did not answer right away. He looked up at the sky, black and endless, with the faint outline of the raider station far above. Then he looked back at her. Hope's good, but we're going to need more than that before this is over. The Star Runner sat hidden between the tall boulders at the mouth of the caves. The air was cold and thin, but the cargo bay was full of life. The first group to leave, children, elders, and the weakest of the Orlan, stood in a tight cluster. They carried only what they could hold in their arms. Small bundles wrapped in cloth or metal containers with food. Their silver skin reflected the dim cave light. Tom checked the controls one last time. The cargo drone was docked under the ship's wing, ready to launch. Its signal code was set to copy the Star Runner's signature on the main display. He could see the patrol routes still moving in their usual patterns. The nearest patrol would pass by in about 10 minutes. Lyra moved to his side, her voice steady but low. We must be ready the moment they take the bait. The longer they chase the drone, the more time we have to reach the safe zone. Tom nodded. Once we're in open space, we go straight to the shadow side of the nearby asteroid field. The station's sensors will have trouble tracking us there. She placed a hand on the console. We will follow you. The waiting was the hardest part. The children were silent, watching Tom with a mix of curiosity and fear. The elders whispered softly to each other. Ren, who would stay behind until the second trip, stood near the ramp, his expression unreadable. The patrol ship appeared on the scanner. Tom's finger hovered over the launch control. Here we go, he said. With a press of the button, the drone detached from the wing and shot away into the darkness, broadcasting its false signal. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the patrol ship's path changed. It turned sharply and accelerated toward the drone. They're chasing it, Lyra said, her eyes fixed on the scanner. Hold on, Tom replied. He powered up the Star Runner's engines. The hum grew into a deep rumble, and the ship lifted from the ground. Dust swirled around the landing. Struts before they retracted. They rose slowly, keeping the boulders between them and the station's line of sight. Once they cleared the rocks, Tom angled the ship low across the moon's surface, flying just above the craters. The drone's signal continued to move farther away, drawing the patrol with it, speed increasing, Tom said. His hands were steady on the controls, but his heartbeat was strong in his chest. We have one shot at this. The surface dropped away as the ship lifted into the upper atmosphere. Thin clouds passed under them. Lyra kept her eyes on the map. No other patrols nearby. We can reach the safe zone in 4 minutes. Tom kept the engines quiet until they were out of the moon's shadow. Then he pushed the throttle forward. The Star Runner surged ahead, the stars stretching into faint lines as they entered faster flight. They were halfway to the asteroid field when a sharp alarm rang through the cockpit. Tom glanced at the scanner. The second patrol had just left the station, and it was heading their way. They must have guessed. Lyra said. Tom adjusted their course. We're not going straight to the field. They'll expect that. Hold on tight. He angled the ship toward a belt of smaller debris between the moon and the field. Chunks of rock tumbled slowly through space, some no larger than the ship, others the size of small houses. The Star Runner weaved between them, the metal frame groaning when Tom made sharp turns. The scanner showed the patrol ship gaining slowly. Its engines were stronger, built for pursuit. Tom clenched his jaw. We can't outrun them in open space. We'll have to make them lose us. He spotted a cluster of 3 large asteroids spinning close together. There's our chance, he said. He flew straight toward the gap between them. The patrol followed, closing the distance. At the last moment, Tom cut power to the main engines and let the ship drift. Using the side thrusters, he spun the Star Runner into the shadow of the largest rock. The asteroid's mass blocked the patrol's sensors for a few seconds. Just enough time for Tom to push the ship hard toward a different path. When the patrol emerged from the gap, they continued forward, chasing the wrong trail. The Star Runner slipped quietly behind them, heading in the opposite direction. Lyra let out a slow breath. You fly like you have lived your whole life in the stars. Tom gave a small smile. When the stars are trying to kill you, you learn fast. The asteroid field was now close. The ship entered the maze of rocks, their slow spin making shadows dance across the hull. Tom found a dense cluster and powered down the engines to hide from sensors. The silence inside the cockpit was heavy, but the scanner showed no sign of the patrol. After 10 minutes, he restarted the engines at low power. We're clear for now, he said. The safe station was on a small mining outpost 2 hours away. Tom had used it before to restock fuel. It was far enough from the moon that the raiders rarely bothered with it when they arrived. The station's docking bay opened without question. The station master, a short man with a deep voice, met them at the ramp. Tom, you've been gone a while. What's all this? Friends who need a safe place, Tom said. Can you keep them here until I come back? The man looked over the silver-skinned group, clearly surprised. I can, but it will cost you. Tom handed him a sealed credit chip without hesitation. Feed them, give them warm rooms. I'll be back soon. The man nodded and led the Orlan inside. The children clung to Lyra's hands until she knelt to speak with them in her language. She promised she would see them again soon. As the group disappeared into the station, Tom turned back toward the Star Runner. Lyra stayed at his side. You are going back for the rest of them now? She asked. Yes, Tom said, before the raiders noticed the missing group. She touched his arm lightly. You took us through our first trial. The next one will be harder. Tom met her gaze. Then we'll just have to be ready. The ship's engines roared to life again. The safe station faded behind them as the Star Runner turned back toward the danger of the moon and toward the rest of the Orlan, still waiting in the cold caves. The night in the valley was quiet, but Aaron could not sleep. He sat by the small fire, his eyes scanning the dark horizon. The stars above were brighter than he had ever seen on Earth, and the air was fresh, but the silence was heavy. Lyra, the last of her clan, was resting in a nearby shelter made from the large leaves of the forest trees. It had been 3 days since they escaped from the metal creatures. They had walked through rivers, climbed rocks, and hidden in caves. Aaron's muscles ached, but he pushed on because he had made a promise. Lyra's clan was gone, but she believed some survivors might still be trapped in the mountains to the east. As the fire crackled, Lyra stepped out of the shelter. Her eyes reflected the glow of the flames. She looked at Aaron for a moment and then sat beside him. You do not sleep, she said quietly. Neither do you, Aaron replied. I dream of my people, she said, every time I close my eyes. I see their faces, I hear their voices. I will not stop until I know they are safe, Aaron nodded. Then we move at first light. In the morning, they began the long climb toward the eastern mountains. The path was steep, and the air grew thin. Strange bird-like creatures circled above, watching them. Aaron kept his weapon ready, but the creatures did not attack. By midday, they reached a narrow pass. On both sides, the cliffs rose high and sharp. Lyra stopped suddenly. She knelt down and touched the ground. What is it? Aaron asked. These are tracks, she said. Many feet, some heavy, some light. They lead toward the mountains. Aaron studied the ground. The prints were fresh, maybe only a day old. His heart quickened. If these were survivors, they might be close. They followed the tracks for hours until the sun began to sink. The pass ended in a wide clearing, and in the center stood a cluster of stone huts. Lyra ran forward, calling out in her language. A shadow moved from one of the huts, then another. Figures stepped out slowly. They were tall, with the same markings on their skin as Lyra. Their eyes widened when they saw her. One of them, an older male, walked toward her. His face was lined with age, but his posture was strong. He and Lyra spoke quickly in words Aaron could not understand. Lyra's voice shook with emotion. After a long moment, she turned to Aaron. This is my uncle, Rovan. These are the last of our clan. Only 12 remain. Aaron felt relief, but it was short-lived. He noticed fear in their faces, and their eyes kept moving to the dark edge of the clearing. What's wrong? He asked. Rovan answered through Lyra. The metal creatures know. We are here. They will come soon. We have only one night to prepare. Aaron's hand tightened around his weapon. He looked at the huts and the frightened faces. These people had nowhere else to run. The forest behind them was dangerous, and the mountains ahead were impossible to cross. We make a stand here, Aaron said firmly. That night, they worked. Together, Aaron taught them how to set traps using rope and sharpened stakes. Lyra organized the others, placing them at different points around the clearing. Rovan gathered stones and heavy logs to roll down on attackers from the slopes. The stars shone above, and the air was tense. Every sound in the darkness made hearts jump. Aaron could feel the weight of responsibility pressing on his shoulders. Before dawn, Lyra stood beside him. You could leave, she said. You have no reason to fight with us. You have your own world. Aaron shook his head. Your fight is my fight now. A soft wind moved through the trees. Then came the sound they had feared, a deep, metallic hum from the forest. Shapes moved in the shadows, their red eyes glowing. The metal creatures were here. Aaron raised his weapon, his pulse steady. "Get ready," he said. The clearing held its breath as the first of the machines stepped into the moonlight. Aaron stood in the middle of the control room, his hands resting on the edge of the main console. The soft hum of the ship's core filled the air. The holographic map in front of him showed the blinking red dots, enemy patrols closing in. Zura stood beside him, her tall frame tense, her silver eyes scanning the map. The remaining members of her clan were hidden in a small cargo bay deep within the ship. They could not risk moving them again until the threat passed. "We cannot fight them directly," Aaron said in a calm voice. "Their ships are too many, and our weapons are weaker. We must outthink them." Zura looked at him with a firm gaze. "I trust you. Tell me what you need." Aaron began typing quickly on the console, calling up old schematics of the region. The space around them was full of small asteroid fields and dust clouds. It was dangerous to travel there, but it could be used as cover. He remembered from his training that enemy ships had poor navigation in such areas. "If we lure them into the Denler asteroid field," Aaron explained, "their scanners will fail. We can slip away without them seeing us." Zura nodded, but there was concern in her voice. "It is risky. One wrong move and we crash. It is better than waiting here to be caught." Aaron replied, "Get the crew ready. We have little time." The crew moved quickly. The human and alien members worked side by side, adjusting the ship's shields and preparing the engines for sharp maneuvers. The hum in the corridors grew louder as the ship's systems powered up. Aaron took the pilot's seat while Zura stood behind him, her hand resting on the chair as if lending him her strength. The ship launched forward, cutting through the quiet void. At first, the enemy did not react, but soon their ships adjusted. Course to follow. The blinking red dots on the map moved faster, closing in. Aaron pushed the engines harder, guiding the ship toward the shadowy region ahead. As they entered the asteroid field, the view outside changed. Massive rocks floated in all directions, turning slowly in the darkness. Some were small enough to pass without notice, but others were the size of mountains. The ship's warning alarms began to sound steady. Aaron whispered to himself, moving the controls with precise motions. The ship weaved through the drifting rocks, shields sparking when small debris struck. Behind them, the enemy ships followed, but they were less skilled. One after another, flashes of light marked crashes and explosions as they struck the larger asteroids. "The ship's still behind us," Zura reported. Her voice was calm but urgent. Aaron's eyes scanned the path ahead. He spotted a cluster of narrow passages between three large asteroids. Only a small ship could fit through without scraping against the rock. He adjusted the ship's angle and pushed forward. The narrow space loomed ahead like the jaws of a great beast. They slipped through just in time. The enemy ships attempted to follow, but the passage was too small. A loud rumble shook the asteroid walls as one of the enemy ships slammed into the rock, blocking the path completely. The other enemy ship tried to turn back, but by then, Aaron had already guided their vessel deep into the asteroid field's hidden routes. Silence filled the control room. Except for the low hum of the engines, the crew exhaled in relief. Zura placed a hand on Aaron's shoulder. "You saved us again." "It's not over yet," Aaron said, checking the navigation map. "We are safe for now, but they will keep searching. We need to find your clan a permanent safe place." Later, in the cargo bay, the surviving clan members gathered around Zura. They were tired but grateful. Many had never seen a human before Aaron, and now they looked at him with respect. Aaron spoke simply. "I promised Zura I would protect you. That promise still stands, but we will need to move quickly if we want to stay ahead of the enemy." The ship continued on, weaving through the asteroid field until they reached its far edge. Beyond it lay a wide stretch of unclaimed space, with a faint glow of a distant planet in the distance. Aaron set a course toward it, hoping it could be the safe haven they needed. Died in the quiet moments after the danger had passed. Zura stood beside Aaron in the control room, watching the stars ahead. "I once thought my clan would vanish," she said softly, "but you have given me hope again." Aaron glanced at her, his voice steady. Hope is the first step. The rest we will build together. The ship sailed on into the darkness, carrying the last hope of a dying clan and the human who had chosen to fight for them. The city of the alien clan was quiet now. The air was clean, and the sky was a soft silver color. The great storm that had covered the land for years had finally passed. The people worked together to rebuild their homes and repair the broken walls. Children laughed as they played in the streets, their voices carrying hope. Aaron stood at the top of the tallest hill near the city. From there, he could see the entire valley. The alien leader, Lyra, walked up beside him. She looked different. Now, her eyes were brighter, and her face no longer carried the heavy sadness it once did. "You kept your word," she said in a calm voice. Aaron looked at the valley and nodded. "It was not only me. Your people fought hard. They believed it was possible." She gave a small smile. "They believed because you believed first." For a moment, they both stood in silence, watching the sun rise over the mountains. It was the first sunrise in years without the shadow of danger. The light touched every part of the city, and it felt like the land itself was waking from a long sleep. In the days that followed, Aaron helped the clan set up farms. The soil was rich, and soon green plants began to grow. Water flowed freely, again from the rivers that had been blocked. The clan sang songs of thanks each night, gathering around great fires. They told stories of the battles they had won and of the human who had stood with them. One evening, while the stars covered the sky, the clan called Aaron to the central square. Lyra stood before the people and raised her voice. "This man came from a far place. He had no reason to fight for us, but he did. He faced dangers that even we feared. He brought back the heart of our land. Because of him, our children have a future." The crowd cheered, their voices echoing through the night. Aaron felt a strange warmth in his chest. It was not just pride, but a deep connection to these people. After the celebration, Lyra walked with him to the edge of the city. "I know you may return to your world," she said, "but you will always have a home here. Our clan is your clan." Now Aaron looked at her and saw the truth in her words. He thought about his own world and the long journey it would take to go back. But he also thought about the faces of the children, the green fields, and the mountains that seemed to touch the stars. "I think my place is here," he said at last. Lyra smiled. "Then we will walk this new path together." Seasons passed. The clan grew stronger, their numbers increasing. Trade began between their people and other alien groups who had once kept their distance. The valley became known as a place of peace and learning. Aaron took part in teaching the young ones about machines, farming, and ways to defend the city without war. In return, he learned the language of the clan, their history, and their songs. Over time, the human and the aliens became more than allies. They became one people, bound not by blood, but by trust and choice. One clear night, Aaron stood on the same hill where he had first spoken with Lyra after the battle. The stars above seemed closer than ever. He thought about how far he had come, not just across space, but in his own heart. Lyra joined him there, as she often did. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had not found us?" she asked. Aaron shook his head. "No, because this is where I was meant to be." And under the endless sky, human and alien stood side by side, knowing that their shared future was only beginning.